Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The Honorable Vice Dean of Academy, Faculty Economy, Sriwijaya University. The Honorable Head Department of Development Economy, Management and Accounting. The Honorable FKP Secretariat or Representative. The Honorable all the speakers. The Honorable all lecturer and participants. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Forum Kajian Pembangunan 2023, held by Faculty of Economics, Sriwijaya University, in collaboration with Australian National University. I am Cindy Priscilla, will be your Master of Ceremony for this event. We invited all attendees to turn on your camera, because together we will sing the Indonesia Raya anthem. Before we start today's main event, let's start with a prayer that will be led by Mr. Isanamidi. To Mr. Isanamidi, time is yours.
Thank you for Master of Ceremony. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Before we start this agenda, let's pray to Almighty God so God can bless us and forgive us for what we have to do in this agenda. For who's not a Muslim, please pray by your own faith. Please allow me to lead this prayer by Islamic ways. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. Hamdan na'imin, hamdan syakirin, hamdan yuwafi ni'amahu wa yukafihu mazidah. Ya Rabbana walakal hamdu kama yanbaghi li jalali wajhikal karim wa 'azimi sultanik. Allahumma shalli ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala sayyidina Muhammad. Allahumma inna nas'aluka salamatan fitin wa afiatan fil jasad wa ziyadatan fil ilmi wa barakatan fil rizqi wa taubatan qablal maut wa rahmatan indal maut wa maghfiratan ba'dal maut. Allahumma hwin alaina fi syakaratil maut wa najata minan nari wal afwa indal hisab. Allahumma innaka afuwun karim tibul afwa fa'fu anna. Allahumma arinal haqqa haqqa warzuqna tiba'ah wa arinal batila batila warzuqna ijtinabah. Allahumma sahil umurna wa umur walidina ma damati samawati wal ard. Allahumma ja'alna fi kulli imtihanatina minan najihin salimin sabir wa mumtazin. Allahumma atina min hadhihi dunya bihusnil khatimah wa la taqtinna minha illa bihusnil khatimah. Rabbana zalamna anfusana wa illam taghfir lana wa tarhamna lanakunanna minal khasirin. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina adzabannar. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun alal mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Taqabbalallahu minna wa minkum. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Respected speaker, all participants, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to say thank you very much for accepting the invitation to be with us here in the Forum Kajian Pembangunan 2023 with the theme Navigating Financial and Government Frontiers, Strategies for a Dynamic Future. To officially welcome you all in this special occasion, it is my pleasure to have Bapak Isnur Hadi PhD as Vice Dean of Academic Faculty Economy, Sriwijaya University, to deliver welcoming speech as well as to open the event today. To Bapak Isnur Hadi PhD, time is yours.
Pak Is, mohon maaf Pak Is, suaranya belum dibuka Pak Is.
Okay, thank you, M.Si. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning and peace of all to us. Respectful FKP Secretariat or Representative, especially for Bu Fida, all honorable speakers, Ms. Fera Widyanata, Mrs. Fida, and Mr. Agil Novriansyah, or fellow lecturers of Faculty of Economics, Universitas Sriwijaya. Last but not least, all participants of the Forum Kajian Pembangunan. Praise and gratitude to be Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala Almighty for His blessing and protection that have allowed us together today online for the Forum Kajian Pembangunan or FKP with the theme Navigating Financial and Government Frontiers, Strategies for a Dynamic Future. Respectful participants and students, since its initiation in 2010, FKP has become an essential medium for researchers, academics, and experts in Indonesia to share their findings and present innovative ideas, as well as policy formulation that has a positive impact on our country development. FKP itself has become an annual agenda at the Universitas Sriwijaya, especially in Faculty of Economics, and a medium for the lecturer at the Faculty of Economics to disseminate research and various economic topics. This year, FKP carries the theme of Navigating Financial and Government Frontiers, Strategies for a Dynamic Future. This theme was raised based on the awareness of the important role of the financial sector and the government in the economy. Financial institutions, especially banks, provide a source of financing for companies and individuals to invest in productive projects and facilitate economic transactions, including the payment system, which is an important basis for the smooth running of the business activities. The government has a central role in creating economic policies that support growth and stability, so that the supervision and the regulation of the financial sectors, the government plays a role in the ensuring compliance, transparency, and stability. Respectful participant and student, strong collaboration between the financial sector and the government is a key point in driving economic growth, risk management, and ensuring financial stability. Through this forum, where researchers, academic and expert and policymakers gathered, we can conduct an in-depth study of the role of the financial sector and government in facing current and future economic challenges. I hope that this forum become a platform to encourage all the researchers and academicians to exchange valuable ideas and knowledge, as well as to make a real contribution to the sustainable development policies in Indonesia. Let's together make this event a milestone toward a dynamic and bright future. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep his mercy and guidance to all of us. Amin ya rabbal alamin. Thank you very much for all participants and the committee. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Bapak Isnur Hadi, PhD, for the opening remarks and open the event. Next is a documentation session. I invite the audience to turn on your camera. Ladies and gentlemen, now we come into the main agenda. I invite our moderator, Mrs. Rasida Pertiwi, M.Sc, who will guide the discussion session. To Mrs. Rasida Pertiwi, M.Sc, time is yours.
Well, thank you so much, Cindy. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The Honorable Vice Dean of Economic Faculty, Sriwijaya University. The Honorable, the representative from Australian National University. The Honorable, the Head Department of Development of Economic, Department of Management, and Department of Accounting. The Honorable, all the speakers and also all the participants who attend this forum virtually. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Peace be upon us. Welcome to Forum Kajian Pembangunan with them Navigating Financials and Government Frontiers Strategic for a Dynamic Future, hosted by Economic Faculty, Sriwijaya University, and in collaborations with Australian National University Indonesian's project. I am Rasida Pertiwi, will be your moderator in today's forum. In this occasion, we have three distinguished speakers who will be sharing their research. But before we come to our main agenda, allow me to introduce our esteemed speaker. Our first speaker is Ms. Fera Widyanata, M.Si. Next, we have Ibu Fida Muthia, M.Sc. And last but not least speaker, we have Bapak Agil Novriansyah, M.Sc. Ladies and gentlemen, before we I'd like to deliver several rules that must obey by all the participants during this forum. First, speaker will be presenting in approximately 20 minutes and followed by question and answer sessions in 20 minutes as well. Second, please unmute your microphone and turn on your video for all participants during the presentations. And the last, everyone is welcome to us. Just raise your hands and you may write in the chat box. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I would like to invite Ibu Fera Widyanata for our first speaker. Are you ready, Ibu Fera?
Yes,
okay.
I'm ready.
Okay, good morning, Ibu Fera.
Good morning.
Ibu Fera is a lecturer in developments of economics since 2018. Excuse me for the co-host, please unmute. Okay, next we continue. She accomplished her master degree in Sriwijaya University in 2016, and her research interests are Islamic banking, green finance, and environmental economics. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's dive into our first topic, the impact of COVID-19 on MSME financing in Indonesia, the role of Mudharabah and Musharakah. Please, Ibu Fera, time is yours.
Thank you, Mrs. Rashida. Good morning, everybody. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Please allow me to share screen. I'm happy and honored to be one of the speakers of this event. Today, I'm going to present about my latest published research regarding the impact of COVID-19 on Indonesian economy. The title is The Impact of COVID-19 on MSME Financing in Indonesia, the Role of Mudharabah and Musharakah. MSME stands for Micro, Small, and Medium Enterprises. SME and MSME in Indonesia have a significant role because they contribute approximately 60% to the GDP, and then they also absorb 90% of the workforce. And on top of that, the majority of MSME engage in strategic sectors in detail such as food and beverage, agriculture, tourism support, and creative industry. Unfortunately, during COVID-19 outbreak, MSME is one sector which hardest hit by COVID-19 from early 2022 until from early 2020 until mid 2022. The data from Ministry of Cooperative stated that around 37,000 MSME were severely affected by the COVID-19. In detail, sales declined by 60%, and capital difficulties also declined by 22%, and also they experienced hampered raw materials and goods distribution by 19%. On the other hand, Islamic bank is one flourishing sector in Indonesia, and Islamic bank has one fundamental value or principle. It is real sector-based banking, which means that Islamic banks emphasize the concept of asset and production based in the real sector. And this principle is implemented in one of their financing product. It is akad or contract Mudharabah and Musharakah. In other words, these two types of financing are the main characteristic of Islamic banking in supporting the real sector and its core product in carrying out its intermediation functions. And what's more important about this akad Mudharabah and Musharakah, it is specifically intended for business or investment and capital needs, such as MSME investment. And also not to mention that akad Mudharabah is one distinguished icon of Islamic banking. So it is expected and also become the hypothesis of this research that through akad Mudharabah and Musharakah, MSME investment in Indonesia will be resilient and thrive during COVID-19 and after COVID-19 pandemic. Turning to the slide, this research use the methodology of this research is panel data analysis with akad Mudharabah and Musharakah as independent variables and MSME investment as dependent variables. This research using monthly time series data from early 2022 until from early 2020 until mid 2022, and because I use panel data analysis, so there are 3 cross-section data units. It is BUS, or Islamic Commercial Bank, and then UUS, or Islamic Business Units of a Conventional Bank, and then BPRS, or Islamic Rural Banks. And there are several steps must be conducted by using this analysis. The first step is Chow test, Hausman test, and Lagrange multiplier. And then the next step, the result either common effect model or fixed effect model or random effect model. And also the next step is classical assumption test. And in this analysis, we only need to perform 2 assumption tests. It is heteroscedasticity and multicollinearity test. And then the last one is the interpretation of the panel data. So as you see on the slide, this is the statistical result of this research. The first step is estimation model determination, Chow test, and the result of Chow test show that the cross-section chi-square probability is 0.00. It is below alpha 5%. And then the Hausman test, the result of Hausman test, the cross-section random probability is 0.00, and it is also smaller than alpha 5%. So based on Chow test and Hausman test, it is decided that the fixed effect model was the best panel data analysis model in this study, and so the Lagrange multiplier test was no longer needed to perform. And move on to the significance test. The adjusted R square is 0.99%. 0.99. That means that the independent variables in this model can explain the dependent variable by approximately 99.61%, and the result of F test is 0.00, and then the result of T test for variable Mudharabah is 0.54%. It is exceed alpha 5%, and then for variable Musharakah, the probability is 0.12. So as you can see on the slide, that both independent variables exceed alpha 5%. And so also, and you can see the result of panel data regression, that variable Mudharabah has positive non-significant effect, and also variable Musharakah has a negative non-significant effect to MSME investment. Turning to the next slide. So this finding did not align with the initial hypothesis that Musharakah and Mudharabah ACAD positively correlates with MSME financing. So this is the short interpretation. For ACAD Mudharabah, statistically, ACAD Mudharabah has not significantly affected MSME financing during COVID-19 pandemic. Indeed, since COVID-19 hit Indonesia in early 2022, Islamic banking sector has also been affected And prior research has found that during the COVID-19 pandemic, Islamic banking experienced a decrease in performance, efficiency, particularly in the distribution of akad Mudharabah and Musharakah. Hence, Islamic bank had to struggle to meet the target shortage to survive and thrive during COVID-19. And for akad Musharakah, the funding with akad Musharakah has yet to contribute to MSME financing during COVID-19 pandemic. It is suspected because the Musharakah is not used for investment and capital financing, but for consumptive and personal financing. And this result in line with the research found that MSME financing customers in the Mudharabah and Musharakah schemes has misused the financing facilities for the consumptive purpose. This is due to asymmetry information and the lack of MSME financial statement. And also, another study found that financing under akad Musharakah contributed little to profitability of Islamic banking companies because customer did not use akad Mudharabah and Musharakah to finance their business. They used the Al-Ba'i scheme instead. The Al-Ba'i scheme is another financing product in Islamic bank, but it is not explicitly intended for investment. It is more for buy and sell scheme. For instance, the example of Al-Ba'i scheme is akad Murabah and istisna. So, because this research uses a fixed effect model, so it is possible to further interpretation from each cross-sectional data. As you can see on the slide, there are three equations, but I want to emphasize the result of constant value on each cross-section data. As you can see that only BUS has positive constant value, while the other Islamic bank units have negative constant value. If studied further, BUS has the largest market share of the three cross-sectional data units compared to BUS and BPRS. The market share of BUS reached about 70%, while the market share of BPRS only 16% and BUS only 13%. In other words, what I want to say here that the market share value aligns with the result of this approach, this fixed effect model approach. This is the conclusions I can draw from this research, that akad Mudharabah has contributed to financing MSME during the COVID-19 pandemic. However, the effect of this increase was not significant, and akad Musharakah has had no significant impact and contribution to MSME financing during COVID-19 pandemic. And for Islamic commercial banks, BUS, if akad Mudharabah and Musharakah do not run, then MSME financing will still exist using the Al-Ba'i scheme. And for Islamic units of a conventional bank or US and Islamic rural banks or BPRS, if akad Mudharabah and Musharakah do not run, MSME financing will decrease, particularly in the US, which has experienced a significant decline. And during this research, I only gained other supporting information about the liquidity, efficiency, and profitability decline of Islamic bankings in general during COVID-19. And then another supportive information that the market share of I mentioned earlier that the market share of BUS compared to other Islamic banking units is about 70%. However, when it is compared to conventional banks, the market share of US only 10%. And also another supporting information is the literacy, inclusion, and development of Islamic bank fintech are also still minimal. So this is the suggestions from this research. First of all, is synergizing the ongoing financing recovery program with enhancing Islamic banking literacy and inclusion, especially for Mudharabah and Musharakah for MSME financing, because as I mentioned earlier, one of the result of this research is there was misused and asymmetric information from customer in seeing and in using akad Mudharabah and Musharakah. And then the second one is infrastructure support and financial technology development, for instance, internet accessibility and digital banking. And then further research related to financing performance in terms of the decrease in liquidity, efficiency, and profitability of Islamic banking, because my research also found that there is a decrease in these three aspects. All right, I think that's all my presentation. Back to the moderator, please.
Well, thank you so much, Mbak Fera, for the presentations related to MSME. Admittedly, MSME had been the hero of Indonesians while Indonesian hit by some of the crisis. Yeah, so for participants who wondering the topic about what Mbak Fera says, please raise your hand or you can chat in the chat box.
Mohon maaf, Ibu Rashida, the question should be in the Q&A box. There is one question in the Q&A box.
Yeah. I got one question from Asi Haloman. Okay, Asi Haloman asks, can you explain more about how the issue is due to the asymmetric information? Has loan for consumptive use drive out loan for productive use? And what does this mean for the bagi hasil rate? Bagi hasil rate. Do you want to answer directly or just keep
directly or just keep waiting another question? Up to you.
Okay. I think it is good to answer directly. Yeah.
All right. Asi Halaman. Yes. During my research, I found that there was quite a lot misuse from the customer financing, which use akad Mudharabah and Musharakah for consumptive use. For consumptive use, for example, for buying things not for business or investment, and on the other hand, I also found that some customers use another akad. Just like I mentioned earlier, it is al-ba'i scheme such as Mudharabah and Istisna. It is actually not intended for investment. It is for buying a consumptive purpose. So that's the findings I found during my research. And also about loan consumption, yes, because if customer use akad al-ba'i scheme, for business, so there will be asymmetry information between the Islamic banking and the customers, because for akad for Al-Ba'i scheme, they don't have to state a financial statement. I mean, the growth, the development of their small business. So that's why in my suggestion, I suggest to give more literacy and inclusive for the customers. So it expected that in the future the customer will not misuse between Al-Ba'i scheme and Mudharabah or profit sharing scheme. Is that enough?
Okay, we open for the next question. Is there any participants to ask directly? Just unmute your microphone and raise your hand. We have 2 more questions. Is there anyone? Okay, if no more participant ask related to what Mbak Fera presents, we move to our second speaker. Okay, is there anything to ask? Okay, thank you so much, Mbak Fera, for the presentations. I hope all participants can enrich the knowledge and enlighten their informations about MSME and then the correlation to the Islamic banking. Thank you, Mbak Fera. Good luck. Okay. Okay, we move to our second speaker, Ibu Fida Muthia. Allow me to read a brief introductions. Operator can share the CV. Ibu Fida Muthia accomplished her master degree in University of Exeter, England, majoring finance and management. And beside that, she was a LPDP awardee as well. She also have some achievements, and some research had been published both in international and also international journal. Ibu Fida also active in some conference. Can you move to below slide? Okay, some conference will held in Thailand and also Japan. Okay, without further ado, please welcome Ibu Fida Muthia.
Thank you, Ibu Rasida Pertiwi. Let me share my PPT first. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, the esteemed faculty members of Faculty of Economics Universitas Sriwijaya, representative from Australian National University. thank you for the opportunity to share our research that we did last year on digital financial literacy. And this research is also funded by University Sriwijaya in Science and Technological Scheme of Research Grant in 2022. So our research focuses on how demographic factors affect digital financial literacy. So the background for our research is that the data from Findex in 2022 shows that 77% of Indonesian population has a mobile phone. And out of this population, 48% of them have accounts for banking and other financial services. And also 55% of these populations is connected to the shopping applications on their devices. And the existence of this digital technology makes it easier for the financial services borderless, and it is easier for the individuals to gain access to financial products. Previous studies shows that the developments of financial technology can trigger consumer behavior, for example, like excessive spending. And with the ease of one click away, previous research also mentions that there is a higher risk for customers to do overspending in their consumptions. In another hand, many point out that with the development of financial technology, there are a lot of challenges that also appear, which is firstly, illegal investment, and there's also fraud, as well as data breach. So we believe that in using digital finance, it is needed to be accompanied by digital financial literacy, which is combinations between financial literacy and digital platform. Moreover, the use of digital platform or digital finance is found to be influenced by social economic factors. And previous studies also mentions that financial literacy is related to social economic characteristics. So, and there's also very little research that focuses on how the demographic factors affect digital financial literacy. So we believe that this research is still relevant in finding out how demographics factors affect digital financial literacy. So that's what we focuses on. So we try to investigate how gender, age, education, and income of an individual affect their digital financial literacy level in Indonesia. So, So our hypothesis development comes from the previous studies that mention, firstly, customer experience is in using digital payment system is actually affected by gender and age category. And also there is a prior study that find out that there is still a gender gap in the use of digital finance, in which women are still behind than men in using digital finance. So we believe and we assume that there is a possibility that digital financial literacy might be influenced by gender and age. Moreover, because as I mentioned earlier, that digital financial literacy is a combination of financial literacy and digital platform. In explaining the relationship between demographic factors and DFL, we use the relations between demography and financial literacy. And prior studies have shown that financial literacy is affected also by educations and income. So the hypothesis development, so our hypotheses are as follows. So we believe that these demographic factors have an influence on the level of digital financial literacy. And we also try to investigate and to see the differences between the level of digital finance, financial literacy by age category. Okay. So the method The sample of our study consists of generations Z, millennials, Generation X, and baby boomers in Sumatra and Java. And this sample is selected by using a criteria in that the criteria are firstly are the community or people that belong to that age category and use or have used digital finance services and also use e-commerce. And this data is collected through survey method with a questionnaire in which the questionnaire is constructed. In digital financial literacy, we measure that by using 11 indicators that that has been used by Setiawan et al. In 2022. These 11 indicators consist of 4 dimensions, which is knowledge, experience, awareness, and skills. For the demographic factors, we divide age into 4 categories. So Generation Z, Millennial Generation, Generation X, and Baby Boomers. And also education and income also uses category. And for gender, we use a dummy variable in which 1 for male and 0 for female. For the data analysis, reliability and validity test is used to analyze our questionnaires using CFA, and also we use simple linear regressions to check the relationship between the demographic factors and digital financial literacy. And then one way ANOVA is used to see the difference between the age category in terms of their digital financial literacy. So before we do one-way ANOVA, we also conduct a normality test before that. So out of the questionnaires that we receive, we have 422 questionnaires that can be analyzed. And in the slides, there is the respondent profile of our study, in which most of them, the majority of the respondents are women, age around 18 to 25 years old. And most of the respondents actually have a master's degree, and they have income less than 5 million rupiah. And this is also the statistics descriptive of our variables. DFL stands for Digital Financial Literacy. And as you can see that the mean of DFL in here is 3.179, which is quite high compared to the median of 2.5 and the maximum of 5. So we can assume that the respondents of our study have a quite high level of digital financial literacy, and knowledge, experience, and awareness and skills are the dimensions of the FL. So this is the results of, okay, so before that, this is the results of our regressions analysis. Our validity and reliability test shows that the indicators of our questionnaires are valid and reliable. We actually dropped 2 out of 11 questions or statements in our questionnaires that have loading factors less than 0.5. So it left with 9 indicators that can be analyzed, and the combat alpha is above 0.7. So as you can see in the regressions results, age and education is found to be significant factors in affecting digital financial literacy. And the R-square is actually only 10%, which means that the rest of 90% is affected by other variables outside our model. And in testing our second hypothesis, which is whether there is a significant difference between digital financial literacy in terms of age category, we found that it is to be significant. So there's a significant difference between age group in the level of their digital financial literacy. So our discussion is as follows. As you can see that there is a negative there's negative relationship between age and digital financial literacy, indicating that the older individual is, the lower their digital financial literacy will be. And this research is in line with research from Aziz and Akhtar. So our reason, we believe that this may be caused by the education variables in Indonesia as a developing country, in which the older generations tend to have a lower education level compared to the younger generations. Education is also found to be significant, and the relationship is positive. So this finding is different from Rahayu et al. 2022 that mentioned education level is not a factor that influence digital financial literacy. We argue that even though there is no specific curriculum that discusses financial literacy or digital financial literacy, but basic financial literacy skills such as accounting for interest compound, knowledge about inflation is actually taught in school subjects such as accounting and economics. And we also believe that individuals with higher education tend to be exposed with more information related to digital financial products. Moving on to our other findings. Our findings also suggest that there is no difference in digital financial literacy between men and women, meaning that there is no gender gap related to digital financial literacy. So this may be due to the fact that women in our sample have the same education level as men, or maybe high level of education than men. So our conclusions is that theoretically, this study proves that age and educations are the factors that determine the digital financial literacy. And practically, digital financial literacy does differ between age groups. So it put forward an insight to the policymakers, to the government, that in increasing financial literacy, they should have maybe a different program based on the age group. So, and maybe also policymakers can consider digital financial literacy or literacy as a part of the knowledge that offered at schools and university. For further studies, we suggest that to increase the number of sample that use. I think this is all. The end of my presentations. I am very eager to receive feedback, questions, suggestions related to our research. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. This is the presentations from Ibu Fida Muthia. For participants who want to deliver their question, please raise your hand. Okay, we have one more question to Miss Fera. Miss Fera, are you still with us?
Yes, Mrs. Rashida.
Okay, I will read the question. These days, we take COVID as endemic and all the restrictions have been removed. Have you conducted advanced research related to this research findings?
Right, good questions. The answer is yes. So these days I have been doing advanced research regarding to the result of this research. My currently research. I currently trying to find out the solution to increase liquidity of Islamic banking through securities. through alternative securities such as Suku and SIMA, or Certificate Investasi Mudharabah Antar Bank. Because as I mentioned earlier, one of the result of my research is there's a lack in liquidity during COVID-19 and during and post-pandemic. So yeah, I'm currently doing advanced research related to the result of this research I presenting today.
Okay, that's the answer from Ibu Fera. Is there anything to add, Ms. Dewi Ratnasari? Or it is quite enough? Okay, if there's no response, we move to other question from Hayat Hanggara. It's related to what Ibu Fida presents. Your research funding state that no difference in digital financial literacy between men and women. My question is, how this finding implied to our society, and what's your suggestion for our government?
Okay, thank you. Is that Miss or Mr.? I'm sorry, I don't know. Hayat Hanggara. So for your questions, so our findings, we found that in digital financial our findings found that there is no difference between men and women in terms of their digital financial literacy. So it indicates that there's a possibility that men and women have the same access to digital platform or financial services. And the suggestions to our government is that before I give the suggestions to the government, this give a pictures that actually based on my study in Java and in Palembang, there is the same men and women have the same financial literacy level. So maybe their educations have already the same. So there is no gap between of the education. So our suggestions to the government is that we should not differentiate between men and women in increasing their digital financial literacy.
Okay, Hayat Hanggara, is there any response or suggestions for what Ms. Ibu Fida? Okay, we have two more questions from Wisnu and also Bagus Atila. First question, as we know that most people in Indonesia live on Java Island, how far is the gap in financial literacy gap among island, and how far is the government involved that issue? Okay, this question regards to Ibu Fida.
Okay, thank you, Pak Wisnu, for the questions. It's actually very interesting questions that can be used in the further study. So in our study, we actually did not account for the gap between the gap of the financial literacy between the respondent that live in Java and also in Palembang. So we miss on that. So maybe that could be used in our next research for the next research. And then also for the government, I think that nowadays it's still that the central government that encourage and have programs to increase the financial literacy. Local governments, especially in Palembang, until now, we haven't found any programs that is being specifically conducted by the local government. So it's from the central government, and then central governments have programs, and then they work together with the local governments to increase the financial literacy. So I believe that I think in 2022, they have a seminar which mentions about and then focuses on the digital financial literacy. So how to use digital platforms very wisely, and then what products are being used to actually prevent illegal investment or frauds that happening to the society of Indonesia.
Well, I think that's the answers about the financial literacy. With my perspective also, I think the government or the authorities should take a part in the policy will apply in our local or also in national government society. Okay, next we have Ibu Lydia. Please, Ibu Lydia, deliver your question.
Thank you for the opportunity. Very good to see this research, Ibu Fida. However, can you explain a little bit more about how you gathered the data? Because I was quite surprised looking at the profile of the respondents. If I'm not mistaken, in general, nationally, Indonesians who complete or attended university or above is only 10%. Yeah, the highest education level for Indonesians in general. And I see that your respondents are actually skewed towards the more educated group of society. And I'm curious to see how the data was collected. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Bu Lydia. So actually, for data collections, we use Google Documents, and then we send the questionnaires to the people that we know and belong to that age category. So that's how we collect the data.
So this is an online survey?
Oh. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Right. Thank you.
Okay, we move to third question from Bagus Atila. It belongs to Ibu Fera Widyanata. Earlier, you mentioned that MSMEs make up 60% of Indonesian GDP. How do you think the effective strategy to encourage the development of halal MSME?
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Raisida. This is brilliant questions. Actually, this is a challenging question for me. You asked my opinion. Well, I suppose the effective strategy nowadays to encourage halal MSME is by issuing halal certification as many as possible, because it will improve customers' trust. That's number one. And then number two is I think to enter and to be competitive in the global market, MSME in Indonesia must have halal certifications, and hopefully the government will make it easy to issuing the halal certifications. And yes, in my opinion, by doing these two strategies, eventually it will increase the export and GDP of Indonesia. I think that's my answer.
Okay, that's the answer from Ibu Fera. Next, we move to the next question from Nia Syabania for Ibu Fida Muthia. Indonesia had bonus demography. Its mean financial literacy must be grow well. In contrast, for the countries who has aging issues such as Japan, Italy, Hong Kong, and so on, as you mentioned that older age has negative effect for that. As your perspective, how those countries manage that issue?
Okay, thank you for your questions. Yes, we do find that age has a negative effect on the digital financial literacy, meaning that the older generations would have to have lower digital financial literacy level. But I believe that because we only conduct this research in Java and Sumatra, it cannot be generalized and used to explain the aging issues in Japan, Italy, and other countries, because there might be have a different characteristics of the community in those countries. So for that questions, I will not elaborate what happened in Japan, Italy, and Hong Kong, because I believe that they have a different characteristics, and also maybe because of there's a difference between Indonesia is a developing country and Japan, if I believe, is a developed country. So there might be an effect because of that, and the same goes with Italy and Hong Kong. So I think that's my answer to that.
Okay. Is there any question? We still have one more question. Okay, if no more question, we move to our last speaker. I invite Sir Agil Novriansyah, M.Sc. Are you with us, Bapak Agil?
Yes, hello.
Okay, yeah. Well, before we come to our main sessions, I would like to read the bio of Bapak Agil. He is a lecturer of accounting department, and he accomplished her master science in public sector accounting, University of Gadjah Mada, Indonesia. And he also a journal manager in some of the journal as a reviewer in the journal Economia Jeko Yogyakarta, and also reviewer at journal Accountability, University of Sriwijaya, and many more. He also had been published this article nationally or moreover internationally in some of journals. This is the bio. Please welcome Bapak Agil Novriansyah.
Thank you, Ms. TV. Please allow me to share my PPT. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank you to Forum Kajian Pembangunan for giving opportunity to me to share our research result with the title Stress Arousal and Burnout on Local Government Internal Auditors, Supervisor Support as Moderating Variable. This article will be published on the Journal of State Finance, Governance, and Accountability, Volume 9, Number 2, December 20 and 23. The journal published by Badan Pemeriksa Keuangan Republik Indonesia, and it's indexed by Sintatu and DOAJ. Okay, I will move to the background of this study. Previous study indicate that burnout condition experienced by auditors have a negative effect on job outcomes. Okay. Such as it can cause increased turnover intention and decrease job satisfaction, job performance, and organizational commitment. And based on the previous study, they suggest that stress arousal might have a direct effect on burnout. And stress arousal can be defined as a psychological and a physiological predictable reaction to a stimulus, for example, work pressure, which is, if prolonged, can lead to fatigue and or damage a person's system to the point of malfunction or illness. Burnout and stress arousal actually they are two different constructs. theoretically, stress arousal and burnout are both a response to environmental stressor. However, stress arousal represents a direct response to environmental stressor we were burned out, while burnout is a consequence of prolonged exposure to the same stimuli. And based on the first literature about burnout, actually burnout consists of three separate dimensions, consists of emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, and reduced personal accomplishment. And some previous studies state that burnout should be seen as a multidimensional construct. However, many previous studies tested the relationship between stress arousal and burnout by using the burnout aggregate measure or one of the burnout dimension alone. So it can make the lack of the understanding how stress arousal can give an effect on its dimension of burnout. And then furthermore, a good coping strategy mechanism is needed for auditors to avoid burnout. The effective coping strategy will return individual to physical and psychological balance. Based on the conservation of research theory, social support is a resource that allows employees to complete their work tasks. And then social support can come from supervisor, co-worker, family, and organizations. And for this study, we will highlight the role of supervisor as coping strategy mechanism to reduce burnout. Based on the result of Korsemunko et al. 2020 and 16, so that supervisor support negatively related to its dimension of burnout. And some previous study also showed that supervisor support able to moderate the relationship between internal conflict and burnout. And Becker and Costa 2014 pointed that the employee that are vulnerable to high burnout level need support and help from supervisor. So it indicates that supervisor support can be used as an effective coping strategy in reducing burnout. So this study develops a research model on the relationship between stress arousal and burnout by integrating supervisor support as a form of coping strategy. Burnout will be tested as a multidimensional construct, which consists of emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, and reduced personal accomplishment. And the study will focus on examining the phenomenon on the local government internal auditors. This is some of the operational definition, the variable in this study. Burnout is defined as a negative psychological response to interpersonal stressor and consists of three separate dimensions, namely emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, and reduced personal accomplishment. In this study, emotional exhaustion refers to an excessive feeling of being drained of emotional resources. And then depersonalization pertains to a negative, unfeeling, or excessively detached and uncaring response towards others. And reduced personal accomplishment refers to a decline in an individual sense of competence and achievement of success in their work. And then supervisor support is defined as the extent to which supervisor provide encouragement and support to employee in their work group. Supervisor provides support by showing supportive behavior, for instance, providing information, instrumental assistance, for example, helping with difficult work tasks, and the supervisor can also give us some monitoring for their subordinates. This study used conservation of research theory that implies that burnout is a process which ongoing job demands consistently deplete resource at a faster rate than they can be replenished. Over time, the loss of resource reduce coping capacity and lead to an escalation of psychological strain. So based on the theory, we propose 6 hypotheses for this study. The hypothesis 1 until 3 state that stress arousal positively related to emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, and reduced personal accomplishment. And then for the hypothesis 4 until 6, it stated that supervisor support moderates the positive relationship between stress arousal and emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, and reduced personal accomplishment. This study used an online survey method with the questionnaire, and then the respondent in this research amounted to 155 local government internal auditors from 17 government inspectorate of district or city located in 4 provinces in South Sumatra. Based on the result of demographic respondent in this study, the majority of respondents were aged above 36 years, comprising males with 49.68% and female 50.32%. And then most of the respondent has undergraduate degree majoring in accounting, and most of the respondent in this study had work experience as internal auditor for 1 until 5 years, with audit assignment more than 15 times. And then the measurement of variable in this study for burnout, it use 9 indicator, which is 3 indicator for each dimension, and it adapted from the multidimensional role-specific burnout, or MROB, by Singh et al. 1994. And then for the stress arousal instrument, it consists of 4 indicators that adapted from stress arousal scale 4 by Smith et al. 20 and 12. And then for the supervisor support instrument, it consists of 8 indicators from Survey of Perceived Organizational Support, or SPOS, that developed by Eisenberger et al. 2002. But in this questionnaire instrument, we make some adjustment that the term organization replaced with a supervisor. And then data analysis using structural equation modeling, partially square, with a WordPLS version 7.0. And then this is the result of this study. Based on the analysis of measurement model, all of the emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, reduced personal accomplishment, and stress arousal construct have met the convergent validity criteria. However, only 6 out of 8 supervisor support construct have met the convergent validity criteria. And then all constructs in this research model have met the criteria for discriminant validity and internal consistency reliability. And there is no vertical and lateral multicorrelative problem in this model. So it means the validity and reliability tests have met the criteria. And then for the goodness fit of fit model, this research model show they meet all of the criteria of goodness of fit model. And then this is the result of structural model analysis. Based on the table, we can see that stress arousal have a positively related to emotional exhaustion, depersonalization. However, it is not related with reduced personal accomplishment. And then the result for moderating variable, it can show that supervisor support can moderate the relation between stress arousal and emotional exhaustion. And if you can see in the PET coefficient, the coefficient is negative, which is its mean the effect is decrease or weaken the relationship between the variables. And then for depersonalization, it's also the same. The supervisor support can moderate it, the relationship between stress arousal and depersonalization. And the moderating effect is negative, which it means the effect is decrease or weaken the relationship between independent and dependent variable. And however, for the effect of supervisor support on the relationship between stress arousal and reduced personal accomplishment, it can show that the positive coefficient in the PET coefficient. It means the moderating effect is strengthen the relationship between independent and dependent variable. So I will move to the discussion of the result of this study. The result indicate that the stress arousal is positively related to emotional exhaustion and depersonalization, but it is not related to reduced personal accomplishment. This mean that intense and prolonged stress arousal will make local government internal auditors tend to feel overwhelmed and emotionally tired when facing the burdens and demands of existing work. In addition, stress arousal condition can also result in local government internal auditors to lose control over important aspects of their work so that they tend to experience the depersonalization. And based on the moderating effect result, supervisor support by local government internal auditors is able to weaken or reduce the effect of stress arousal on emotional exhaustion and depersonalization. It's indicated that local government internal auditor who experience stress arousal due to role conflict and ambiguity tasks related to the dual role they face. When supervisor develop good interpersonal relationship with them by building good communication and information disclosure, they tend to feel less burdened and tired with the job demands that were placed during the audit process. And then local government internal auditors who experience stress arousal when they get emotional support from supervisors in the form of monitoring and performance direction, they tend to feel that they have the resource to be able to work with the team and face job demands or complete the audit work well. In other words, they did not feel depressed. In contrast to what was expected, supervisor support followed by local government internal auditors strengthens the effect of stress arousal on reduced personal accomplishment. It indicated that local government internal auditors who have experienced reduced personal accomplishment due to intense and prolonged stress arousal condition tend to be cynical toward their supervisor, so that they perceive and reject supervisor support as another type of work request. And then the conclusion of this study, the result of this study indicate that when local government internal auditor experience stress arousal condition in response to the job stressors, they have a high probability of experiencing emotional exhaustion and depersonalization. And the result of testing supervisor support as a coping strategy in this study indicate that supervisor support is able to moderate the relationship between stress arousal and each of the three burnout dimensions. This research, there are some limitation of this research. This research over new insight, but it is difficult to compare the result of this study with the finding of reverse empirical studies. And there is an indication that the reverse buffering effect is in moderation effect provided by the supervisor support. So further research is expected to pay attention to the reverse buffering effect when using supervisor support as a moderating variable in the relationship between stress and burnout. Okay, I think that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Agil Novriansyah, for the presentations related to stress arousal, yeah, in local government's internal auditor. Okay, we have two questions. The first question is from Anisha. It is regard to Mr. Agil also. Some Japanese companies implement one unique policy to relieve stress or burnouts as well. And it makes the employer more effective. It is taking nap for all employers. From your perspective, can we adopt that policy to make our time more productive? Another policy in Scotland, for example, also do break time coffee every 3 hours to make their employers don't get stressed. So what is your perspective about this issue?
Okay, thank you for the question, Ms. Anissa. Actually, every country have their unique method to relieve stress for their employee, and we can adapt all of that policy in our country. However, when we can see in the context of the auditor, the job of the auditor, the job of auditor actually is really stressful, especially in the busy season. It's around at the end of the year or 1 until 3 months after the financial reporting dates. So auditor actually have the unique condition of their job. They can work everywhere, not only in the work office, but because the timeline of the job is strict, because they should report their examination of the financial reporting, so it can make them be stressful. And I really agree, take enough or break time coffee every 3 hours can be can be adapted to refresh the energy when we work, because it can make us to forget to forget first our work and then refresh, recharge our energy and come to again with the auditor work. Yeah, but my point in here is the auditor works environment is as a team. So the supervisor support is really need for them to complete their work. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Agil. This is a good way also that should adapt to Indonesian's policy, Indonesian government, so that's our employers a little bit relax while they are doing their activities in their work office. Okay, next question from Al Hafiz. to Sir Agil Novriansyah. Your study resulting that stress arousal is positively related to emotional exhaustion and depressionalizations, but it is not related to reduce personal accomplishment. My question is, what factor influence personal accomplishment, and how do the respondent handle their mental illness to stay focused on their professionalisms?
Okay. There are so many factors, yeah, that can affecting personal accomplishment. Yeah. Most of the factors is people need to acknowledge, yeah, about their identity, about their work, about their job, and everything. Yeah, people need acknowledge. So, related what factors influence personal accomplishment, it's mean yeah, we need to make the culture in our environment, yeah, especially in job environment, work environment related to improve, like respect each other, and don't just give a cynical response to others if their work is not good enough. Yeah. So just praise them, just say that you do your job well. Yeah. Because it can relieve the person that need to personal accomplishment. And then how do the respondent handle their mental illness to stay focused and their professionalism? In my experience, when we get tired of our work, we always yeah, I think I can feel the emotional exhaustion, the personalization, and personal accomplishment, reduce personal accomplishment, because maybe we feel the burnout because we see our work is, yeah, this is we have overload tasks with our work, so we can feel the burnout. It's normal, yeah. Just accept it because it's normal to feel the burnout. But when we feel the burnout, there are some strategy to mitigate it. Maybe we can take yeah, just take a rest. Maybe we can have one day just not doing anything to recharge our energy. Or we can also talk with our supervisor related our job. Maybe this job is too hard to handle, yeah, too difficult to handle. So our supervisor can advise, give some advice or give some mentoring to us to finish our job. Yeah, I think that one of the strategy to handle if we have mental illness when we doing our job, and we can stay focused to do the best for our job. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, that's some tips, yeah, some tips delivered by Mr. Agil to relieve the stress, yeah. Okay, next, the last question maybe from Ibu Gustriani.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rasida. Good morning, Mr. Agil.
Morning.
Okay, I think it's a very interesting topic. You study about the mental illness. One of them is stress and burnout. And since we know that each generation have their style, they have our different condition about mentally, and especially for Gen Z, we know they are sometimes people call they as a sandwich, strawberry generation. We call that because they are soft and they're fragile, and related to they're so easy to get exhausted or stressed out and other mental issues. However, I see in your study that your respondent is the age is over than 36 years, if I'm not mistaken. So let's say there it's a different generation. Maybe it's, if I'm not mistaken, it's maybe a millennial, maybe. But I want to ask about your perspective. How if your study conducted to another generation, let's say for the strawberry generation, would the result will have a significant difference for each generation? And secondly, I think we need your advice for the institution or for the employee, how they can keep their work professionally due to the this dynamic challenge in this institutional or globally. So how we can keep mentally health and we can attain our goal. So we can, we can achieve our personal and institution goal. Thank you, Mr. Agil.
Okay, thank you for the question, Ibu Gustri. Every generation have the unique habit. Yeah, I say it's habit, or it can also it's the culture. Yeah, the culture of the generation. If the older generation maybe they are the strong enough to in the work system. Yeah, on the or work environment. But in the millennial generation, they tend to be work-life balance. It means they more aware with their family. They more aware with that work so balance with their personal life. So their motto is work-life balance. And then for strawberry generation, this is the condition that most of the organization will face of it maybe 5 years later, because most of them nowadays is still in the high education institution. Yeah, so as we know, the strawberry generation is I think they don't have the strong mental to face the problem. One of the factors that I know is it's because maybe the educational from the parents that always have or give the have their children with their problem from their child until their no their adult. The parents don't want to their children struggle with the problem in the education or in all of aspects. So it can make the strawberry generation be fragile. I mean fragile. It means they don't strong enough to face the problem. So based on the previous study, especially in the millennial generation, the study showed that most of the auditors from millennial generation, they tend to leave their work if it's not suitable with their motto or with their perspective. Yeah. So in compare with the strawberry generation, I mean it's not. Yeah, I think it will be the same. Maybe it can be more. The damage will be will be bigger because the strawberry generation cannot fulfill their job well in the struggle condition in the auditor context. So maybe for the suggestion for the policy makers that they need to adjust the culture of their environment, because every generation have their unique character. So the CPA firm, the CPA firm cannot cannot as strong in the all time, but they can maybe more smooth with this generation. However, they can choose again. They can make the work environment more will be more attractive, and then adjust system that the people can work efficiently and everywhere. So it can improve the culture of work, and then decrease the mental illness with the young generation. Yeah, I think that's my opinion, Ibu Gustri.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Agil. Is there any question? More question? So, like what Mr. Agil said before, that we should right now aware about the mental illness. Yeah. So the work balance is also necessary for all of us. Yeah, don't forget about it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, we come to the end of our discussions. Thank you so much for being part of this enlightened discussions. On behalf of the committee, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our wonderful 3 speakers and also the participant, organizer who made these events possible. We hope you find today's discussion enriching and insightful. But last but not least, I apologize if there is any words that are not pleasing along these sessions. Have a great day and see you at our next event. I'm Rasida Pertiwi signing out, and I deliver back to our MC.
Thank you very much to Mrs. Rasida Pertiwi, M.Sc, for guiding the discussion session today. Ladies and gentlemen, now we come to the end part for this event. Thank you for your presence and attention in this Forum Kajian Pembangunan 2023. I am Cindy Priscilla as the Master of Ceremonies today. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.